Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the logistics space. So earlier in this Q2FY25 logistics space, we've covered two companies. We've covered Tiger Logistics and AVG Logistics. And in today's video, we will do another company. We will be covering Premier Roadlines. Okay, this is the third company we'll be doing. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and do the video. Yeah, we're going to do that. And also along with learning this business model, what we're going to do is we're going to compare it with the other models also, every metric from the business model to the numbers. This way, what will happen, it becomes easier for us to understand this model and see the differences or the similarities with the other models that are there. Okay. Um, Actually, I shot this video like almost 60%. I didn't see my battery was low, and all of a sudden, my entire laptop got shut down. Like, oof, just the worst. Anyway, so today we'll be doing Premier Roadlines Limited. First, let us understand the business model, like, what does this company do? And like I told you, we'll compare every metric, every single metric with Tiger Logistics as well as AVG Logistics. Okay. So first thing first, let us, like the name itself tells, this is a logistic company. But what kind of logistic company it is, right? Like if you look at them, they are a B2B logistic company, similar to what we had with Tiger and AVG Logistics. Okay. Now, the other thing over here is what kind of transportation or what kind of logistic services do they provide? Are they providing multimodal, ocean freight, air freight, yeah, just only roadways kind of services? If you look at Premier Road Lines, they are mostly into the roadways transportation. Okay, majority of the revenue comes over here from the roadways itself. Okay, whereas we saw with Tiger Logistics ka is a multimodal transportation business. 92 to 95% of the revenue comes from multimodal. And similarly with AVG also, AVG is also multimodal, but again, there also majority comes from roadways compared to the other oceania air freight. Okay. Then now see the two most important parameters we covered. The third parameter we need to understand with any logistic companies, like the vehicles that they own, is it theirs or is it somebody else's, right? Because if it is their own vehicle, although there will be no problem in terms of availability of the vehicle, but it becomes a very, it becomes a very asset heavy business. Depreciation बढ़ जाएगा यहाँ पे, right? But versus, let's say, if you're hiring somebody else's, whether you're in a lease model, if you look at them, these people also work similarly to that of Tiger Logistics. इसका पूरा का पूरा ये एक asset light business है, ठीक है? So over here, if you look at them, they have over here, if you look, I'll just give you an example like how it works, like how their third party are contracting, yeah, leasing works over here for Premier Road Lines. Okay, so over here, let's say for example I'm Premier Road Lines, okay, and there are multiple delivery agents or multiple truck car, who has like 10 fleets of truck, 50 fleets or 100 trucks. So I have these, I have contacts with everybody, and these people are my dedicated, these people are dedicatedly working for PR, which is Premier Roadlines Limited. So all of their 10 trucks or 50 trucks or 100 trucks, they are dedicated to Premier Roadlines at all costs at all times. So this way, whenever I get my order, whenever I have my order, there is no problem in terms of availability of vehicles, because that there is a certain set of fleet, a certain set of drivers, a certain set of agents that are working solely and solely for you. Now, if you look at this, if you look at the 80%, 70 to 80% is coming from this solely dedicated who are working. There are people, unka trucks hai, but these people are associated with PRL, to supply their trucks and drivers for them. Okay. The other 20 to 30% ka mix jo hota hai, that is like on a contract basis. Let's say, for example, these people have a list of delivery agents, unka numbers hai, unka contacts hai in their system. When, let's say, an order comes and they would need that specific vehicle type, they would call these people and get them, to work for Premier Roadlines. So this is how it works. Okay. When you look at Tiger Logistics also, agar aap dekh sakte ho, similar to inka jo hai, similar to Premier Roadlines hai, pura ka pura asset light, they don't own vehicles. Whereas with AVG, we see AVG owns some vehicles and the other vehicles are leased. If you look at they have a fleet of 3,000 trucks. Out of that, at least 700 is owned by AVG and the other is owned by, they're hiring it or leasing it over here. So I hope you understood ki like inka what kind of logistic company, right? And what is the kind of transportation, and in terms of the truck model, is it their own or is it different? Yeah, hired, yeah, fleet. Okay. right? I hope this is understood. Now over here there is a little bit of difference over here. Let us इनका जो अगर आप business model देखते हो, there are different categories या different segment of or different type of services. So let us understand what are the types of services, what are that they do. Okay, so इनका जो revenue है, it can be classified into four things. Project logistic services, as you can see, project logistic services का मतलब क्या है? I will try to explain everything with an example. The reason that I explain with an example is because that's how I understand. If you have to like say either I need to have a personal experience to understand it, or I need to have examples, so it sits in my brain better. Okay, so that is why you'll always see me explain with examples. Okay, now what does project logistic services mean? Okay, now let's say for example I am Premier Roadlines, okay, and Ace is another company, like actual construction equipment. I'm just giving an example, okay. And Ace ka, they need probably unka crane ke liye, they need some kind of screws and drivers, some parts they need. Okay, now they will give this contract called as project logistics services to PRL, Premier Roadlines Limited. Now it is Premier Roadlines ka entire responsibility to coordinate with the supplier, whoever the Ace ka supplier is there. They will contact them, they will schedule the delivery, when to collect it from the supplier. They will schedule when the delivery has to be done, what kind of road, what kind of transportation to be done, and the entire thing from sourcing of the supplier to the entire, that is until the end of the to reaching Ace ka go down. It is Premier Roadlines ka responsibility when they're taking care of the entire chain from the supplier se collect karke kaun sa road mein jana hai, kya karna hai, everything is over here. And for this kind of services, depending on the type of project, they have trucks that can carry goods from 1 metric tons to 250 metric tons. Okay, so this is project logistics services. The second is overtime, and over here, one of the things over here, if you look at this both, project logistics services, यहाँ पे earlier the margins was not that high. Now if you see, the margins are around 12% for this service. Why? Because earlier a lot of manual work was going on, and instead like they had humans that would coordinate with every single step of the way. Now they've enabled tech in a lot of their platforms, in a lot of their services. In this way, especially one of the tech they've used is ERP is not equity research program, our or yours. हमारा equity research program नहीं है. It is enterprise resource planning. If you guys are working in supply chain department in any of the companies, you might be working with SAP S4 HANA, all of these things. You would understand what enterprise resource planning है. Enterprise resource planning का मतलब, now see, अगर एस को ये spare part चाहिए, हर एक spare part में एक QR code लगा होगा, एक code लगा होगा, where they can see exactly from what go down कहाँ पे, they can see lively, they can track कहाँ पे है, क्या पे है. Basically, you do not need anybody. It's purely happens using this technology यहाँ पे. Like that's the easiest way I can put it up. Okay. The second thing is over dimensional या overweight services. ठीक है, ये क्या होता है? Now see, there will be certain times where the size of that goods is so much that you can't fit it into a container. These are like this heavy equipment. आपने रोड में देखा होगा ना, right? इतना बड़ा एक गैस का टरबाइन जो जाता है, right? And all of this, because like I told you, look at the name, overweight or over dimensional, which means those components that can't be fit into a truck, that can't be fit into a normal truck. These are the things जहाँ पे the size of the product is so huge that you have to ship it. It doesn't come under the normal shipping requirements. And also not just that, they have to ship everything in one shot. I'll give you an example. Like see, can you see this? इतना बड़ा जो चीज है एक ही साथ में शिप करना है एक ही शॉट में. A good example of this I can give you in our listed spaces, Anup Engineering. आपने देखा होगा Anup Engineering का product क्या है? Heaters, exchanges, इतना बड़ा product, gas turbine and all of that, right? Now you have to supply it from there, go down to whatever shipping port. Now this over dimensional या overweight services they provide, एक ही shot में इतना बड़ा जो component है उसको logistic मतलब point A से point B तक चलाना. Now for this also they have trucks that can carry up to 250 metric tons. Now both of this project logistic services and over dimensional or overweight services जो हम बोलते हैं, both of this are high margin services. The margins over here are 12% minimum. Sometimes it can even go more than that also. Okay, so these are the two things that are high margins. Remember this, please remember this as we are learning. Project logistic services and over dimensional services are high margin 12% and above जो होता है. ठीक है. Okay, the third one is contract integrated logistics services. Now, what is this contract integrated logistics services? Now, for example, let me talk about, like, let's say Britannia. Okay, I'll give you an example. It's not that they're their clients. Yeah, let's say for example, कुछ real estate का company या कुछ, who would constantly need cement का supply. You have to get it from there. You have to get it from the supplier. After that, you have to transport it to different warehouse. Yeah, let's say for example, आप Britannia के लिए काम करते हो. पहले तो production इतना जल्दी होता है, right? And you have to probably get the wheat and the sugar from the supplier. After that, you have to take the raw goods and supply to your distribution. So over here, where you need a constant requirement of logistic solutions, and that happens for a period of time. Let's say the contract over here ranges between 2 years, minimum 2 years to maximum 5 years, 10 years also it can go up to. So this is called as contract integrated logistic services. The difference between project and contract is, as you can see, project यहाँ पे जो है, it is you're taking care of the entire, from talking to the supplier to getting delivered, but it is mostly, you can tell, probably एक one time service जो होता है. But contract integrated ये 2 साल का 3 साल का, like for example, you will be the sole supplier over here, like the name itself tells. यहाँ पे they can offer trucks between 1 ton to 30 metric tons. ठीक है. Now this का margins, contract integrated. Now see, since you're working with a client for at least a minimum of 2 years, क्या होता है यहाँ पे? You have to give them some discount. You have to you have to go back and forth over here. So यहाँ पे the margin is a bit lower. यहाँ पे the margins can range between 7% to 10%. ठीक है. Then we have general logistic services. General logistic services का मतलब क्या है? Let's say for example, I'm a company. ठीक है. मैं एक company हूँ जहाँ पे मैं, let's say I'm manufacturing clothes or something, and I don't need every day मुझे project का everyday project मुझे उतना कुछ बड़ा नहीं है. Probably one time shipping है मेरा. It is very like spot. Like all of a sudden I have to get some huge order supplied. Okay, and I will call PRL and they will help me. Like basically urgency जो होता है just normal one time basis order जो होता है, that is called as your general logistic. Now let's say if I'm a company and I'm calling PRL and I'm telling भाई मुझे एक बड़ा shipping होना चाहिए. At for these kind of services at one, like on spot में जो होता है, they can provide for their clients like this. At once they can provide like 50 trucks at one point of time. That is a maximum that they can do. ठीक है. And a general logistic services थोड़ा low margin है. Out of all the four, the margins can start from 5 to, depending on the size of the order, from 5 to 7%, and can reach again similar to contract up to 10%. But the first two are the high margin services. Okay? Now, this we've covered. Okay. Other than this, recently what they have done, what PRL has done is they have done an acquisition. Okay. Now see, they had this company, they had this subsidiary called PRL Supply Solution. Okay. Why did they acquire this? Now, as you see, there are two main differences you need to understand between logistic and between supply chain. Okay. Logistic का मतलब क्या है? I am basically responsible for supplying your goods from point A to point B. That is my only headache. Okay? आपने बोला, मैंने किया, point A से point B, आपका माल जो है मैंने I sent it. Supply chain का मतलब है I am responsible for the entire value chain. I have to get the goods from the supplier. I have to give it to the customer. After that, let's say customer का finished goods जो है, I have to keep it in my warehouse. After that, provide warehouse, your cold storage solution, and provide the distribution. उनका जितना भी distribution sites है, वहाँ पे मुझे करना है. I have to send it to different places. Okay. So this entire value chain from supply to distribution, from warehousing यहाँ पे. Logistics का मतलब क्या है? सिर्फ point A to point B. Okay. यहाँ पे warehouse भी आता है, storage भी आता है, everything where you take care of is called a supply chain. Now, until now, they are only providing logistic services. Now, of course, there will be certain clients of theirs, they would need an entire supply chain solution. Now, think about it. As a company, if I'm dealing with one person for logistic, another person for supply chain, it becomes a bit of a headache. But if I have one person, why would I want? It becomes easier for me. ना मुझे और भी शायद discount मिलेगा यहाँ पे, right? That is another thing. But also it becomes easier as a management of one company for me to handle everything from one person, right? So that is what they're trying to do. They've acquired this PRL supply chain solution so that they can provide the entire end-to-end solution for their clients. So existing clients say they're targeting पहले to do that with the existing clients and then later go forward and onboard, right? And here again over here, earlier like I told you, they're prominently in the roadways. यहाँ पे by including the supply chain solution, they can again target the ocean freight, air freight, warehousing करना, distribution करना. ठीक है? Basically for their clients, they want to be that one-stop shop, basically like an Amazon where you're providing the entire supply chain and logistical solution over here. ठीक है? So I hope you understood कि like अभी difference क्या है between each and every parameter, मतलब each and every company. Okay. Now, Other than that, if you see, like over here, for the first time, what these people have done is they've invested around 10 to 12 crores in purchasing 2 pullers and 18 axles. आप देख सकते हैं ना, बड़ा बड़ा जो ट्रक है. Now you might ask me like, Prerna, wherein they an asset light model, इनका जो contracts है, इनका जो they have a fleet of people who are working for them. Now what happens is over here, most of the times ये जो fleet of people who are working for them are normal trucks. ये जो trucks है, these are like higher variation of truck, which is not easily available with your fleet of drivers या fleet of truck agents जो आपको काम करता है. It is not easily available with them. So, and sometimes orders, sometimes it can be non-availability of these vehicles. So, that is why they've gone ahead and done that. And also the other reason they've done it is because by having them, since they are higher margin products, यहाँ पे जो high margins होता है, because these come under that over dimensional या overweight, जहाँ पे margin से 12% and above. And if you have vehicles of your own, it becomes better. That is why they've done this. And they've told going forward also, until and unless there is a requirement, if we see that a certain set of vehicles we need for a project or for this certain set of clients, and we see that it becomes very difficult to hire it from a third party, and there can be a case of non-availability of these vehicles, we will go and do this capex. And that is why they have done it. Okay, they, whatever the IPO proceed tha, that is why they have built this this one. Okay, I have to constantly keep checking if this recording is happening or not. Look at their clienteles now. Clientele अगर आप देखते हो, maximum are in this heavy engineering या project based EPC kind of based business over here. Okay, and even you can see the sectors that they're working. Now let us compare this with AVG Logistics and Tiger Logistics. अगर आप Tiger Logistics में हमने which we did day before yesterday, we saw that Tiger Logistics का main जो revenue का segment जो है, it is coming from this automobile industry, 78%, right? If you look at AVG Logistics का client is mostly in the FMCG, big basket or all this quick commerce that is there, right? They're doing there, and recently they've started going into the cement and steel industry. Versus, can you see over here, पूरा का पूरा यहाँ पे these people are doing with construction equipment, EPC contractors. So basically, one thing you can see out of these three logistics company that we have done, nobody is competing with another, right? Like Premier Roadlines is not competing with Tiger. Tiger is not competing with AVG. AVG is not competing with Premier Roadlines, because the industry that they operate in is completely different. Now that doesn't mean in competition, these people have some other competition, domestic and international players. But having said that, none of the players in the listed space are not a competition of one another. Okay, so that is another thing to note down over here. Okay, now let us talk about the most important thing, like what is so exciting about this company. Okay, so the first thing is, if you look at this company, if you look at before the time that they came for IPO, the 4 years before that, the data that is given is these people were growing comfortably at 32. If you look at the last 4 years, they've been growing at 30 to 35% kind of CAGR. And the management is very bullish and very confident that going forward for another 4 to 5 years, also they can grow at 30 to 35% CAGR. Okay, and if you look at FY24, पूरा साल का revenue, if you look at it, is 229 crore. Okay, and in this year also they are expecting around 300 to 330 crore. 300 on a conservative side is what they're expecting, and they're expecting a PAT margin of 5 to 7%. Okay, now why they're targeting a PAT margin of 5 to 7% is couple of reasons. One, like I told you, you saw that, right? They got this new trucks, because of which the margins will improve, because it's their own trucks and not like third parties ही कर रहा है. The other thing is उनका जो IPO proceeds है, they got rid of their all long-term debt, because of which अगर आपका debt नहीं है, then finance क्या होगा आपका? How do I put this? आपका debt नहीं है, your finance cost is not there because you're not paying any interest, right? As a result, PAT margin stands a chance to improve. So that is why 5 to 7% ka they're targeting, right? So this is one of the reason. This is what you can see. So the guidance is very strong. Let us see now, अगर ये guidance इतना strong है, how has the first half of the year been? Are they on track to achieve it or not? Okay. Didn't I give the link? Okay. So first, let us look at H1 FY25 numbers. Right off the bat, when you look at the numbers, you see that H1 FY25 ka revenues, if you look, is 113 crore. गाइडेंस कितना था 300 crore. So when you look right off the bat, you'll see कि like अरे सिर्फ 113 crore किया है, which means what? They have to really pull up their stocks into at least 200 to 212 crore. If you tell guidance is 300 to 330 crore, they have to really pull up their stocks into it in H2. So right off the bat, you might see that H1 numbers can look very disappointing. You see sales जो है hardly grew by 17%, right? PAT जो है 21% से grew हुआ. HOH, which is half year of this year versus half year of last year. You see another very disappointing factor is EBITDA margin जो है is less, right? EBITDA margin fell from 8 last year it was 8.1, this time it is 6.9. ठीक है? So all of these factors that you might see कि अरे ये क्या, ये तो 35% का टारगेट करे और फिर 17% कर रहे हैं और H1FY25 में सिर्फ 113 करोड़ किया है, right? But there is a reason for it. First, like I tell you, let us go back to the business model and understand what is the problem. Okay, first thing is, if you look at their business, if you look at their logistic business, H1 is a leaner period for them. Like when we talk about a B2C business, हम बोलते रहते हैं ना कि like Q2 एक lean quarter है, lean quarter है, lean quarter है. Similarly, when you look at their business, H1 में if you look, पूरा साल का only 35 to 30% of the sale happens in H1. The 65 to 70% of the sales happens in H2. So H1 is very relaxing. Now think about it, 300 crore का आपका target है for this पूरा साल. 35% of that is how much? 105 to 110 crore, right? And how much have they done? 113 crore. So when you look at it from a business model ka view ka perspective, you see they're actually on track to achieve it. There is no problem, right? I know the numbers can fool you for once when you look at it, but when you go back and look at the intricacies of the nature of the model that is there, you understand that, like, there is nothing wrong with the numbers. Then let's come to the second point that we target, like in terms of EBITDA margin. What is the problem यहाँ पे क्या हुआ है for the EBITDA margin to drop from 8.1 to 6.9? The first thing over here, remember when we covered the business model, हमने क्या बोला था? जो पहला दो है, project logistics and जो overweight और over dimension है, that is around कितना, around 60 to 65% of the revenue. पूरा साल का अगर आप देखते हो, usually it is 60 to 65% of the revenue because that is high margin now. That is where they concentrate on. But this time क्या हुआ? In this H1, along H1 already being a leaner period, यहाँ पे और दो चीज था. One is because monsoons relatively were harsher compared to last year. Okay, that is one thing. And as a result, as you know, since look at the industry that they operate in ना, ये सब देखो, oil, gas, power, क्या क्या industry है, बाप रे बाप. And all of this में क्या होता है? Because of monsoon project का delay होता है, people don't start their project. As a result, ये हुआ. The other and the most important thing that we had in this first half of the year is elections. Because of elections, what we saw was, again, a lot of project to get it materialized में वहां पर भी delay होता है. And as a result, because of these two reasons क्या हुआ? Because the monsoons and elections के वजह से a lot of delays that had happened, you see that project logistics जो है, right, and over dimensional जो है, it is contributing hardly in H1 FY25 20 to 24%. Usually कितना होते हैं? 60 to 65%. अभी कितना है? 25%. And look at the other two जो है, contract and the general logistics, which is the least margin. Alert from updates available. Which is the least margin accretive product that we see. यहाँ पे देखो कितना है ये 47% versus 29. यहाँ पे पूरा case mix जो है यहाँ पे is this time has been completely shifted. Usually you see 60 to 65% from project and overweight. यहाँ पे पूरा उल्टा हुआ है, right? And we are seeing that come from general and contract. Again, see, I really appreciate the management यहाँ पे because they knew that H1 में इन दोनों चीजों के वजह से, especially elections के वजह से, project में और over dimensional में इतना कुछ काम नहीं होने वाले. That is why they were smart enough at least get that contracts and get the orders from general logistics and contract में ज्यादा focus करने में, ठीक है. And since contract, like I told you, export का वो एक होता है, that is why they have done. So now you understand why margins have fallen and why the numbers are down. But having said that, the numbers are not bad. The company is exactly doing, they're on track to achieve what that 300 crore का. Now let us talk about the other metrics, right? The other metrics अगर आप देखते हो, number of orders, right? You have to serve more clients than you did last year. That is very important, right? इसको number of orders यहाँ पे you can tell. Record हो रहा है ना, बाप रे. I have no energy to do this again. Okay, number of orders here, if you look at it, is what we refer to as volume growth. Okay, so volume growth is up by 23%. Very good, very nice. Value growth, agar aap dekh sakte ho, it is down by 5.8%. Now, why this has happened? Like I told you, case mix mein agar aap dekhte ho, zyada se zyada aaya hai general logistics se, which is a little bit low margin accretive product. That is why yahan pe value growth jo hai is down by 5.8%. The other thing you will see, the number of customers customers is also down. Now this is also not a problem over here. Another reason, like I told you, यहाँ पे जो two most important thing, overweight and project में थोड़ा delay हुआ है. As a result, they were not able to serve. But the fact that number of orders has gone up and number of customers served कम हुआ है, it goes to show you कि like existing clients से जो business आया था, right, that has been more compared to, let's say, new clients. So overall, all in all, good metrics at the end of the day. ठीक है. The other thing, let's just go and we will just look at the cash flows and balance sheet. ठीक है. अरे यार, open हो जा भाई. हाँ. Let's look. I have to highlight here one thing. Huh. The most important thing, यहाँ पे there is no asset liability mismatch. You can see current asset by current liability. अगर आप देखते हो, there is nothing. Again, one more thing over here, guys, कि like ऐसे how do you connect these different points? Asset liability mismatch देखना, ROE का कौन सा pointer है, and how do you connect this ROE का pointers to growth pointers? Like how do you see that happening? How do you connect different pointers and create a checklist? So that you will be able to analyze everything on your own, right? And we will teach all of this in the upcoming workshop. As you must have seen, I give the ad every single time, right? I've given the ad before also. I'll give the link both in my description as well as in the pinned comment where रहता है, right? Or check the tweet below if you're looking at on Twitter. Register on that workshop. It's on Jan 11th and Jan 12th. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be covering 30 plus industries, 30 plus sectors, and lots of companies. We will give you live practical examples and we give you the entire checklist. So you will be capable of handling your own portfolio and doing this analysis for yourself. Okay? So link in the description below. Register quickly because we only have 1000 seats and already 500 seats are full. Okay. Now, okay, coming back over here, there is no asset liability mismatch. One thing that is for clear. You see the borrowings that are there, right? Borrowings that are there also has come down. There is no long-term borrowings at anywhere, right? The other thing, is it in lakhs? Yeah, it's in lakhs. Okay. Short-term borrowings also has come down significantly. 36 crore tha, yahan pe 3.88 crores, right? No major, nothing. Yeah, nothing over here. The only thing I will tell is trade receivables that are there. Okay, trade receivables that are there, you can see a slight increase, right? And you can see still there is 75 crores of receivables because this is March ka, ye September ka. So this receivables that is there, 75 crore ka receivables that is there. In the last 6 months, whatever the services that they have provided for their client, right? That client has not done the payment and it has been 6 months, right? That you have provided the service and you've not got the money, right? So यहाँ पे the reason, one of the reason, now see, obviously जब 6 months हो रहा है and you haven't got the payment, it makes you question कि like इसके आपने तो service provide किया but the client has not paid you and it has been 6 months. So do I have to, as a company, इनको provision करना पड़ता है, like provision का मतलब in a simple terms, that this client is never going to pay you for the services, so you have to pay, like you have to pay from your own pocket. Like this is like let's say आपका एक juice का business है, somebody came and drank the juice but they never made the payment and it has been 6 months that they haven't made the payment. So what, आपका loss हुआ ना, you have to do the provision for that. Okay, so here it begs for the question कि like do they have to do this 75 crore का provision, right? Because earlier in the past there has been incidents where certain times they do the they provide the services and the payment has not been done, right? So over here, no, they didn't have. In fact, can you see here provisions last time they have done around 1.25 crores, right? No, they don't have to do provisions for 75 crores in spite of being receivables is it's taken 6 months for them. The reason is because they have done a project in Maldives. Okay, and as you know, abhi Maldives or India mein thoda geopolitical tension aa chuka hai, because of which the payment is getting delayed over here. Okay, that is the reason, and the management is very confident कि like ये 75 crore जो है, they're not worried about it and they don't have to worry about इसका provision करने के लिए, because the clients that they have been working with, this particular client, they have been working for a very long period of time. And even Premier Roadlines, they kept talking on the call, the founder kept talking on the call, like, we are very careful with the kind of customers that we are associated with. We are very careful the kind of customers that we do business with, because this is one of the biggest risk, right? That you do not get the payment. That is why we are very choosy with customers. I rather compromise on my growth, and have only few customers than do the other way around. That is why you see that they work with only kind of like a premium brands, because right, Tatas and all of these people, when you work with premium brand, the defaulting over here is relatively lesser than, let's say, when you're working with chota player, right? That is another thing. Okay. So that is what I had to cover in the cash flows part. That was the most important thing, nothing else. Now, other than that, if you look in this quarter, they've got 100 crore ka. Let me just share the screen. Yeah, 100 crore ka total order they've got from different companies, and this is the tenure up to which they will be executing it over here. Okay, so yeah, so this is the Q2FY25 ka updates. Q2F and everything is going well, on track. The last thing we will do over here is little bit एक valuation का exercise करते हैं, ठीक है? They are targeting a PAT margin between 5 to 7%, right? So 5 by 100, 0.05 into 300. So you can expect the PAT to be around 15 crore से 0.07 into 300. 21 crore, somewhere between 15 to 21 crore is what you can expect the FY25 ka PAT. I'm taking a very conservative. You can do the same thing with 5% and 7% PAT margin and 330 crores. Okay, so PAT will be somewhere between 15 to 21 crore. That is the expectation. And the valuations, if you see, market cap कितना है? 281 crore है, right? So 281 crore divided by 15 crore is 18.7, and if you tell 281 crore divided by kitna tha wo 21 crore is around 13.38, right? And how much is the growth engine yahan pe? 229 minus 300 divided by 229. 31%. For a 31% ka growth engine, the PE lies at between 18, right? 18 only, na? That was so. I forgot. 281 divided by 15. Huh. 281 divided by 21. Somewhere between 13 to 18 is what you can expect the 1 year forward valuation, 1 year forward PE, and for a growth engine of 30% minimum kind of growth engine. Okay. Now let us go. We've covered everything. Let us understand what is the risk associated over here. One, like I told you, one of the biggest risk over here is the receivable. Certain times there can be a time where your receivables do not come up to 6 months, 9 months. Working capital में बहुत सारा pressure आएगा, and there can be the worst case scenario is this money never comes and you'll have to do some provisions for this. Okay. Second is, since they have, like we've seen this time, you might have an order book, but there can be delay in terms of materializing this order book. Like we saw that in H1, because of monsoons and everything, the orders didn't get placed because those people didn't, the clients that they're working for, it could be other whoever in the EPC or energy renewable, unka you order, they were really not doing the project. So obviously, how will these people get the order book? That is another thing. The other one is delay in delivery time. Now over here, yeah, there is this concept in logistics called POD, which is called as proof of delivery. Okay. Now let's say, for example, I am Ace, right, and you are supplying 50 trucks worth of spare parts. में आप 50 trucks में आप बेच रहे हो, ठीक है? Now in this 50 trucks, if I have to, if let's say you are sending it from different parts of India, ठीक है? And let's say out of this 49 trucks got delivered to Ace का warehouse, ठीक है? But one truck didn't get delivered, maybe some problem, one or the other problem. Okay. Now Ace जो है, they can't give proof of delivery, right? They can't give proof of delivery until and unless all the 50 trucks have come to their warehouse. It doesn't matter अगर 49 trucks आ गया, but the fact that one truck didn't come, they can't do the proof of delivery. They can't give that proof of delivery. अगर proof of delivery नहीं आते हैं, आपका पैसा नहीं आता है यहाँ पे. So because of this, थोड़ा सा भी delay in delivery time होते हैं ना, पूरा का पूरा working capital यहाँ पे और भी अटक सकता है, ठीक है? The other thing, the fourth important thing यहाँ पे, the another risk is high freight cost. As you can see, sometimes infrastructure can be very bad in terms of roadways, right? And as a result, the poor, everything can get delayed, right? Not just that, I'll show you another thing. Wait, I should have opened here. See, can you see over here? They are making in September they did 112 crores in terms of revenue, 112.8, 113 crores. Usme, can you see 95 crore is their cost of freight expenses? I mean, can you see, now you understand why the PAT margin is so low, like 5% PAT margin क्यों होता है? Can you see, this is like, मतलब आपने 112 करोड़ का इनकम किया है, बट उसमें कि like सारा का सारा 90% का आपका कॉस्ट तो आपका एक्सपेंसेस में ही चला गया, ठीक है? So this is one of the other things, right? Another thing I can tell you is because ये जो third party का lease करता है, right? Let's say for example, like we were talking that time, I'm Premier Roadlines and I get a contract, right? And I tell my delivery agent कि like तुम भाई जो ट्रक है, it is my truck, अभी तुम मेरा क्लाइंट के लिए तुम करो. So let's say if you get 100 rupees का order, 80 rupees goes for to giving this third party आप hire कर रहे हो, जो भी आप lease कर रहे हो इसको, उसको आपको 80 rupees देना पड़ते हैं, 20 रुपए आपसे बचता है, ठीक है. So you understand कि like यहाँ पे कितना बड़ा ये एक बड़ा से बड़ा चीज है. As one way, of course, आपका जो asset जो है, you become an asset light business, but over here you also understand the other risk, कितना expenses यहाँ पे बढ़ता है, right? So that is also another thing. I mean, again, I do not know if you can classify this as a risk, because it is just inherently the way you operate. It is just, I mean, it is just inherently the nature of the business model. Because if you buy all this truck, then gone. मतलब आपका भी कुछ नहीं बचता है ultimately, right? आपका depreciating cost इतना बढ़ता है that there is, you also won't stand a chance to survive. Now you understood why they have, they purchased all these. They purchased all these trucks, this high margin का truck show होता है, why they purchased it. Now you understand कि like अगर normal trucks में ही 80 rupees आपको देना पड़ता है for every 100 rupees, then think about यहाँ पे बड़ा बड़ा जो truck है कितना देना पड़ता है. So that is the thing. So overall good company, if you look at both Tiger, all the three, Tiger, AVG and क्या है ये Premier Roadlines, एक काम करते हैं, just last एक करते हैं. एक है Tiger, जो जिसका रेवेन्यू था शायद 240 करोड़ and they're planning to do around 500 crore. H2 is greater than H1, so they are definitely going to be somewhere around 100% का growth engine, right? Tiger का 100% है. AVG revised guidance from 45% to probably they will be a 25% का growth engine, right? Because उनका guidance went down from 700 crore to 600 crore because they didn't get that order. That order hasn't got materialized yet. Then we have Premier Roadlines, which is targeting around 300 crores in revenue, which is around a 35% का growth engine. Now इन सब का valuation अगर आप देखते हो तो टाइगर का कितना था 28 to 34, ठीक है. टाइगर का valuation was between 28 to 34. I'm not sure how much AVG will do, but the fact that यहाँ पे guidance revision हुआ है, that is all enough to put it in the third place. Okay. Premier का यहाँ पे can you see 300 at 35%? हमने कितना बोला 18 to 21 is your 1 year forward P. So Tiger is number 1 in the logistics space right now. I haven't done, as we add new companies, SJ Logistic karne, then we will change it over here. Premier comes number 2 and AVG comes number 3. I don't know if you people are able to see this, right? I hope it is visible. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Why? In spite of, can you see one thing over here? You might see that AVG over here had higher growth rate, 45%. यहाँ पे 35 है, but it still ranked it at number 3. Is because AVG revised guidance now. They'll probably able to do only kitna, only probably 600 crore in revenue. That is why I put it in number 3. One, the fact that your guidance has been revised, that is not a good thing for any investors over here, right? Now, whatever the XYZ reason it could be there, it does not associate with you because it is not your business, not your dad's business. So understand this, right? So first thing is Tiger Logistics because higher growth rate hai yahan pe, that is why Premier. Now see, understand one thing also over here. You might be like, "Arey, but Premier ka valuation low hai." But also look at one thing. The reason why Premier ka valuation is also low is because Premier is a lower growth rate engine compared to Tiger. Tiger is a 100% growth engine. That is why its valuation bhi thoda premium hai compared to that of Tiger ka valuation thoda premium hai compared to Premier Roadlines. Okay, so that is why it is. So this is how you can rank the 3, right? Yeah. So that's that for kya bolte hai Premier Roadlines Limited. We will cover the other companies also. SJ Logistics hai. I have these list. Let me show you. Where is logistics? We have this SJ Logistics. I don't think I'll do the other thing. Premier Roadlines ho gaya, right? We are done with the video part also. The other is SJ All Cargo Delivery. We'll try to cover as much as I can by in the next couple of days. Probably by today I'll wrap it up another 2 companies. But that's that for Premier Roadlines Limited. And yeah, take care, guys. Bye bye.